Well, second quarter is done. We are through April, May, and June, which means it's time to go over the next ranking of 149 different games played these past 3 months. Hey, I'm Alex Radcliffe from Board Game Co., and this is the second of a series, strictly speaking. This is the second time I'm doing one of these where I look at the last quarter, the last 3 months, and I go over all the different unique games, whether new to me or not new to me, that I've played in the past 3 months. I have played 149 different games. Now, as usual, disclaimer that this is not a complete list. I always forget things. In fact, even while putting together this list, I usually go through a bit of a, what could I have missed? What else is there? Trying to scan the shelves, being like, I think I played that 2 weeks ago. Where did that go? And sure enough, there are a bunch that I already missed. I managed to bring it up from 144 to 149 just by remembering the games I hadn't logged plays for. I generally use BG stats to log my plays. I am not 100% accurate, especially since a lot of my plays are over the weekend and I can't remember everything. I don't actually use technology or phones or anything like that over Saturday, over the weekend, which means I have to kind of remember what I played over the weekend. Point is, consider this a 85 to 90% accurate list of what I played, hopefully capturing as much as possible, hopefully capturing as many unique different games. And then this video is me ranking those games. It's me ranking the games from the least excited I am all the way to the most excited. In general, I would say anything on the lower 50, let's say, take with a grain of salt. Once I don't want to play a game, it kind of bottoms out there. It's kind of like, okay, great, I don't want to play you. And honestly, at that point, I just start ranking them based on how long they are. If I don't want to play game X and I don't want to play game Y, do you know which one ends up low on the list? If game X takes an hour and a half and game Y takes 2 hours, well, I'd rather not play the game I don't want to play for 2 hours, so that gets lower down. Which actually, even just looking at this, for some of these, that holds true. Point is, take it with a grain of salt for all cases. I did not heavily analyze my rankings. I did not spend the same amount of time I would if I was doing my top 100. I didn't reorder things. I threw these all into PubMeeple and simply clicked yes, no, this, that, this, that, this, that, back and forth for a good hour and a half until it spit out the results of the 149 different games. And I just said, hey, that's the order. We're not going to change it. We're not going to do anything to it. We're just going to go ahead and have a conversation. Also, just random point, I'm having seltzer right now, which is always a bad idea on camera because seltzer in general just makes you want to burp. And in a video that might be half an hour long, wanting to burp is not the best thing. I'm just letting you know in case you see me going, that's me swallowing a burp doing the rest of the video. Don't know why I felt the need to tell you that. Why not? As far as why not coffee, I've already had coffee 3 times today. And as far as why not coffee a 4th time, I could, honestly. I just chose seltzer. Anyways, let's go ahead. Let's go ahead and dive into this. These are the 149 games, starting off from the very lowest all the way to the top. As I said before, and just take it with a grain of salt. We'll go through this. Everything will be timestamped. Yes, you'll have 149 different timestamps because I care that much. You will not have 149 different shots of the board games because I don't care that much. Just a matter of priorities. I always get a few comments from these, like, hey, it would be better if we saw shots of the games. Do you know how long this video would take to make if I filmed 149 shots of the games? This would go from being a video that takes, an hour and a half of ranking and half an hour of filming and 20 minutes of editing and all that stuff. It would go from being a 2.5 hour production to being a 3-day production. So I'm not going to do that. Let's start off. 6 minutes into this video, let's starting with 149, which is Twilight Struggle, which is going to ruffle some feathers. Again, this goes back to what I said before. It's not that Twilight Struggle is the worst game of the 149 games I played. It's that it's a game that I have no desire to play, and once my desire is at 0, it's also possibly the longest game on this list from the ones I have no desire to play. And so anytime I was thinking, do I want to play this game I don't want to play or that game I don't want to play, Twilight Struggle often ended up losing because it's 4 hours long. It's not that it's the worst, it's just that it's the longest on a game that I have no interest in. If you want to find out more information of that, you can check out my Play This Not That of Twilight Struggle and Watergate. If you like Twilight Struggle, it might annoy you, but that's what you can check out more. I think Twilight Struggle was a great game for me at once upon a time, and now I just have no interest in playing it. There are other games I'd rather play that do the same thing, but significantly faster, or at least the same thing from my stance. You will probably disagree. You being, well, it depends on who you are. 148 is Blood on the Clocktower, another dramatic incident, and that was also because it was a slightly longer experience, and I had a very disappointing experience that is only partially related to Blood on the Clocktower. A lot of my experience around Blood on the Clocktower was just the experience itself, but it did heavily bias me against the game, and nothing I saw in playing Blood on the Clocktower made me think, you know what, I want to give that another shot in a different setting. I just am not compelled. I'd rather play Quest or Resistance or One Night Ultimate Werewolf. 147 is Spirituals. This was a Kickstarter campaign. It wasn't a bad game. It just lost a lot because it wasn't that exciting. And it's a game that I think for me it would probably be more family friendly. And it's one that I ended up playing with adults, not kids. And so it's kind of I think a family weight game that I ended up not playing with children, which put me a little bit biased against it. It's not bad. It just wasn't compelling either. 146 is Viscounts of the West Kingdom. Easily my least favorite of the Garphill games, Shem Phillips trilogy. I think Architects is a good game that I don't get the love for it. I think it's a good game. I think Raiders is a good game that I don't get the love for it, but I think it's a good game. Same with Paladins. All those are good games. Viscounts, on the other hand, I did not like Viscounts. I did not review Viscounts. We stopped playing Viscounts halfway through. I wasn't even the one who suggested ending it. One of my friends was like, halfway through the game, one of my friends suggested, are any of us actually having fun? And we were all like, no, we're not having fun. I did what I usually do at that point. I reread the rulebook to make sure we're playing it correctly. By all accounts, we were, and didn't like it. I don't know why. I just did not like that one. 145 is going to be Burger Up from Greenbrier Games. Burger Up is a light game of making burgers. Wasn't that interesting. It's cute. It feels more like an app turned into a board game, but it just was cute. It just didn't really do it for us. 144 is Union Stockyards. Union Stockyards is it's actually, I'm a little surprised this one's that low. I think the theme didn't pull me in. I actually liked Union Stockyards. I thought it was a pretty good game. It just kept on losing. It kept on losing all the matchups, despite being a pretty decent game. But Union Stockyards was a Kickstarter game of trying to worker placement, trying to manage the markets and buy and sell beef and slaughterhouses and all that stuff. I thought it was a pretty decent game, but thematically I had no interest in it whatsoever, and that might be why it lost. Mechanically, I think the game is significantly better than 144 on this list, but thematically, no interest whatsoever. And not even from the stance, I know there's some controversy around the campaign, around the fact that, the Union Stockyards, meatpacking stockyards had a lot of issues. I'm not even talking about from that stance. Nothing, if you have a problem with that, it's fine. It's just, I didn't, but for me, it's more just didn't have any appeal whatsoever to the theme. 143 is Mysterium Park. Did not enjoy my time with Mysterium Park. I liked Mysterium back in the day, and Mysterium Park I thought would be better and faster version of Mysterium, and it just was a worse and more, I don't know, it felt watered down. I'd rather just play Dixit once we're playing Mysterium Park, and Mysterium Park is gone. It's over with. Number 142 is Misty. Misty was a light little small box game that was okay. It just wasn't overly compelling. It was drafting without me caring enough about the results of the draft, and that's usually the one time I don't like drafting. It's like my favorite game mechanic, and if you make me just not care about the results, Misty was okay. It's a little sliding puzzle. You draft certain cards, you put them down into a little grid, and then you kind of move things around to cover stuff up and make sure you get the end result you want. It was cute. It felt a little cluttery and not that elegant with drafting thrown in, so yay drafting. 141 is Steel Colosseum. It's actually, again, another game that's probably better than where it is, but honestly at this point, it starts getting, again, it's harder and harder to rank these things. I'd probably reorder that higher. Steel Colosseum was a game I only played on TTS. It was a game of robot arena combat. I enjoyed what little I saw of it, but the keywords is what little I saw of it. I got a chance to play it during the campaign, so I didn't really do any coverage past mentioning that I had played it. I enjoyed it. I thought it was fun. I was not amazed by it. I was not in love with it. I enjoyed it and thought it was fun. Brew is 140. Brew from Dinosaur Games. This one I am really surprised is that low. Really surprised at the matchups here. Brew, I think, would have absolutely been higher here. But either way, I really enjoyed Brew. I almost kept Brew in my collection, and that's, for 140, that is tough over here. I almost kept Brew in my collection, but at the end of the day, I felt that the screwage, the meanness of the game, was a little bit over the top. That there was a lot of screwage, and I love screwage, but it felt like I had no real control, and that whoever went last in each round controlled the round, which wasn't great. I didn't love that the going last felt so ridiculously impactful to the game, and so I like Brew. I like the concept of it. I think I need the meanness and chaos dialed back like 15%, and then it'd be an excellent game. As it was, I really enjoyed it, but don't feel the need to keep it. At 139, we have Bretwalda. Bretwalda is a tricky one because I didn't really play it. It should arguably not be counted on this list, but honestly, if I spend 2.5 hours of the game set up on a table in front of me, I do log it. I log it as an incomplete play, but I still log it, and Bretwalda I logged because I spent the time on Bretwalda, and I didn't really properly get to play it. There were too many issues with the rules, with the components in general, the iconography, the visual text. It was a nightmare of a game to actually get up and running, and a nightmare of a rule set. I got to the point in the rules where I was like, I'm pretty sure I know how to play this game, but I don't want to teach anyone how to play this game. Every single sequence had layers of additional rules towards each sequence. It felt like a lot of work. Again, take my opinion here with a grain of salt. Did not play the game. Did not play the game at all, and so yeah, it's very rare that I walk into a rule set and think to myself, I am never playing this game, and Bretwalda, it's prototype, so I'm not going to say never, but I think Bretwalda has a good game in it, but I think there's way too many things in the way of it being a good game. And with that being 139, let's randomly why 139, just because it's 10 games in, so we'll take a little sip now. 138 is Legend of Hellas, small box game, cute little puzzle, but not overly compelling, just about trying to defeat various gods and using your cards as a resource, and if you run out of cards, the game's over. It was cute, not compelling. 137 is Animalia. Animalia is a trick-taking game. Same publisher as Legend of Hellas, actually. It's same publisher. It is Quined Games. Quined small box games. Animalia was far more compelling than Legends of Hellas. In fact, I would think several spots away, but happens to be next to each other on this list. Animalia was cooperative trick-taking or solo trick-taking. I think it did decently as far as solo trick-taking, but I would rather play, let's say, the crew for cooperative trick-taking, and overall, I thought Animalia was decent. I thought it was decent, and I thought the co-op trick-taking was not for me. The solo trick-taking was more compelling. I don't really have other solo trick-taking, but I just don't see myself pulling out Animalia compared to other games I could pull out instead. At 136, we have Lost Ones from Greenbrier Games. Lost Ones is a kind of Seventh Continent light game. It's like exploration and putting down tiles and seeing things, but like the game itself was very light. It was more exploratory and just reading stuff and exploring the world and occasionally interacting with things to unlock one of 15 different endings or however many different endings there are. It was cute. I enjoyed going through it, but I do not feel the need to continue playing it after uncovering the endings. It's like, okay, great, I uncovered an ending. Ta-da, I'm good to go on this one. 135 is Mountains Out of Molehills, a solid game from the OP, a good family weight programming game that is fun. It's fun. It's not bad at all. My kids enjoyed it. I don't know if they're going to ask for it again, so I think I'm getting rid of it. But I enjoyed my time with it while thinking it is fine and just not amazing. I think it has a very solid toy factor. The visual representation on the table makes it stand out a bit. But past that, I just don't know if it's one that's overly compelling. At 134, we have Wormholes from AEG. A very cute, solid mechanic as far as the wormhole placement, but the rest of the game around it I didn't find compelling enough. I thought the rest of the game around it was a little bit too light. I kind of want to see the mechanic utilized, but utilized in a larger beast of a game, as opposed to in Wormholes, I felt it was underutilized. At 133, we have Tiny Epic Dungeons from, well, Gamelin Games. Gamelin Games? I think it's Gamelin Games, right? Tiny Epic Dungeons. It was a okay version of a Tiny Epic game. It was not my worst Tiny Epic game, nor was it my best Tiny Epic game. My best would be Tiny Epic Vikings. My worst would be... maybe it was my worst. I think Tiny Epic Galaxies was better, Tiny Epic Quest was better, Tiny Epic Dungeons was better, not Dungeons, Tiny Epic Defenders was better. Maybe Tiny Epic Dungeons might be my least favorite Tiny Epic game. I'd have to think if I'm missing any, but that might be my least favorite Tiny Epic game. It was okay. I like the building up of your character, but the rest of the game felt a little cluttery and is loaded left, right, and center with way too much symbology that made it a chore to get through and not a rewarding chore to experience. I thought it was a fine game, but too much work to get there and not enough payoff when you did. Then we have 132 is Tacocat spelled backwards. Now this is actually one where I decided to bring on the table here because this is the first of the games. At 132 is the first game we have that is currently in my collection from all of these. And by currently I don't mean like one or two of these I have on the shelf, but the going away shelf. 132, Tacocat spelled backwards, is the lowest ranked game on this list that is in my collection. Now to be fair, that's by my daughter's choice, not by mine. I think Tacocat spelled backwards from Exploding Kittens, this Exploding Kittens company, I think it's a cute game. I enjoy playing it. I will never ask for it. But when my daughter wants to play it and she asks to play this one a lot, it's really not a bad little puzzle. It's a simple, it's very much a mass market game. I like it. I will not recommend it. I enjoy playing it, and I will not say no. There are other games I'd rather say no to. This is not one of them. It's fine. It's just playing cards back and forth, trying to like knock out the largest card. There's a little bit of interesting strategy and bluff work around it, but overall, not that great. Just not that bad, and also very short. At 131, we have Knockdown. The series of Knockdown from Awakened Realms Light. I thought it was a fun series. I started off a little higher on it, and the more I played it, the faster my rating went down and down as I realized it's just... I lived for the combos on the cards and the powers, and the rest of the game around it was just uninteresting. So the powers and combos, there were some fun moments in the games, and then the stacking, the stacking aspect of Knockdown where you stack cubes, your damage cubes, you eventually trigger a knockdown, and then all the damage cubes on the player, they have to stack them in a tower in 10 seconds. I thought that was actually a fun little puzzle. Not really puzzle, but dexterity gimmicky aspect. Just the rest of the game, the stuff you're doing 80% of the time wasn't fun. The stuff you're doing 20% of the time was not bad. Then at 130, that's what that was 131. At 130, we have Making Manhattan. Making Manhattan is going to be a button-shy game. A button-shy game of trying to gather 8 cards in order to make your own little Central Park, Manhattan, and score each card depending on where it is in the grid. Fun little game, not bad. I'd rather play most of the other button-shy scoring games. I'd rather play Sprawlopolis or Circle the Wagons or Skulls of Sedlic or Well, those three come to mind, but possibly others as well. I thought Making Manhattan was cute, nothing to complain about, but also probably lower down on the button shy list for me. Then we have 129 is The Breach from Ludus Magnus Studios. The Breach is one that I enjoyed. I enjoyed a lot of the game, but I didn't enjoy the enemy AI system, the way you handle the actual enemies that are on the board, and that's a big part of the game. And so, for me, it's a game I want to like, and it's a game I'm keeping an eye on to see what changes to the final production of the game. But as it currently stands, it's one that I just wouldn't choose to play, because all the enemy minis and stuff that would be on the table, a big part of the game just didn't work for me in its current form. At 128, we have Dinosaur Island Roll and Write. Dinosaur Island Roll and Write, which is a roll and write game that I don't enjoy. And some of these, this is where you start getting to the part where some of these games, depending on when this video goes up, some of these you're going to see reviews for coming out later, so there'll be spoilers for that, and that's okay. Dinosaur Island Roll and Write, I don't enjoy. I like the building of the park. Across 3 rounds of play, you're building stuff up, you're building your park, you're getting various benefits and bonuses and employees and all these fun things, and it's very, 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 very fun. Except you're also tearing things down left, right, and center. The danger of the level of the park, assuming you're playing it correctly, seems to be such that you are constantly tearing down the things you build, which thematically might be fun, but mechanically I just don't enjoy the destruction of all the things I built in the game, and so not a huge fan of Dinosaur Island Roll and Write. At 127 we have Wild Serengeti. Did not enjoy that one that much either. It's not bad, it felt a little too long with not enough reward in terms of what you're doing in the game, just lots of work to get to a point where it's okay. It's okay. Wild Serengeti is okay. Not one that really lasted for me. 126 is Animal Kingdoms, a fast-paced game from the designer of Sprawlopolis, actually. I can't remember his name offhand, but from the designer of Sprawlopolis, Animal Kingdoms is one that I thought was a cute little puzzle, but not one that overly compelled me. It's all about playing cards to different regions to lock in, a little bit of area control, and then get points for that. It was cute, I just didn't find it overly compelling. At 125, we have Kawaii, a speed game about ice cream, basically. That's what it is. It's a speed game about ice cream, trying to get the right shape and type of ice cream that you can get as fast as possible by trading in your heart tokens to gather the ice cream cards in front of other players. It's basically a speed game. Think Spit, but totally different. Not Spit in the slightest, it's just got a speed element. I thought Kawaii was cute and fun, but also not compelling. It's a fun game I'll play with my kids. Like Tacocat, I enjoy it, but I don't really need to play it that much. At 124, we have Fluttering Souls. Fluttering Souls is a game from Good Games Publishing that kind of takes the Seven Wonders Duel card-laying mechanic, or something you've seen as well in Truffle Shuffle, same idea, but it does so in a lighter way. It has a fun little puzzle. It's got a little bit of degree of tenseness. There's a card you play that you can use it for an extra turn, which is solid to kind of block players. I think it's a fun game. I'd rather play Truffle Shuffle. I'd rather play Seven Wonders Duel, so that one did not last from that sense. At 123, we have Bandida. Now, I have Bandida here. Honestly, they're the same basic game. Bandida throws in some extra cards. Same basic game. No reason to own both. I'd probably choose Bandida over Bandida. Bandida has extra powers and abilities, which usually would be what I want, but in this game, I actually think the simplicity of Bandito is probably better. Either way, both basically the same game. This is the first game on the list that I own that is not because of my daughter. It's still a very light game, but this is a fun little, large group convention, kind of just fun little, hey, a bunch of us sitting down, let's play something quick, light, and fun. I am not writing any giant testimonials of how great this game is. It's not. It's just light, simple, and fun, but I think it's nice to have that kind of game lying around for any situation, or for when my kids want to play a game with their friends, or for when I want to play a game with my nephews and nieces. It's a light, simple game. 122 is Of Dreams and Shadows. Of Dreams and Shadows is one that, from Greenbrier Games as well, I enjoyed the story element of the game and the tests you're taking and the gear you're getting and the way you're leveling up, but I just didn't think it was mechanically that solid a game. It's a fun little adventure game. I'm happy I played it, happy I went through it, but also not one that needs to stick around. Water break. Seltzer break. At 121, we have Tsuro. Tsuro, which I finally played. I may have played Tsuro back in the day, I don't remember, but either way, I played Tsuro now at the very least, and Tsuro is one that I think it's okay. I prefer Indigo personally. We have Indigo in our collection, and I just think Tsuro is a little bit too forced in what you're doing. I think Indigo gives you more flexibility to really build towards a strategy, and so if you're looking for Tsuro but more strategic, then I recommend Indigo. If you're just looking for the chaos of having things explode into one another, Tsuro will do just fine. At 120, we have Bark Avenue. Bark Avenue was a Kickstarter about pick up and deliver, basically walking dogs around a city. A cute little game. My biggest issue with it, that's not true, not my biggest issue. An issue I had with it is I didn't love the art and presentation of the game, and so that really held me off from loving the game. It's prototype, so factored all that stuff in, but I thought that it was a little... the art didn't pull me in as much as I would ideally like it to. Past that, the game was pick up and deliver, which isn't a mechanic I love. I liked the game. I thought it was fun, but it wasn't like a falling in love kind of moment. It was, hey, this is a fun pick up and deliver game, and that's it. Now at 119, we have Disney Sorcerers Arena. This is one that's also technically still in the collection, but only because I need to play it more. I don't imagine this one stays, unless my kids want it, in which case maybe. Disney Sorcerers Arena. Arena, giving you an arena combat game focused heavily on mass market, focused heavily on the Disney's Arena app. I thought it was okay. I'd rather play Super Fantasy Brawl any day of the week. It has been compared to Super Fantasy Brawl. I would rather play Super Fantasy Brawl any day of the week. I think it's better miniatures, better production, better art, better gameplay, faster gameplay, less rules text. I just thought Super Fantasy Brawl is a better version of the game. They are similar at a high level, but not a very strong level. But they both have, like, you know, objectives you're going for. It's not purely about the killing each other. They both have 3 heroes. I think it's 3 heroes. I'm in the middle of leveling up through Disney Arena. But either way, fun game. Not one that I'd probably go Super Fantasy Brawl. At 118, we have Septima. Septima was a prototype, one from Mind Clash Games. I thought Septima was fine, but I was not in love with it. Thematically, I didn't love it. Mechanically, I didn't love it. I thought it was a very solid puzzle. I recognized the puzzle that was in the game, but it's one that I am happy I played, and I recognize the puzzle. I think the biggest thing I could say in its favor is I strongly recognize the puzzle and the cleverness of the gameplay. It's one that I believe I give it a 3.5, and that's because of the fact that there is an element of me that's like, it's a good puzzle. It's a really good puzzle. But past the good puzzle, I just didn't care for the game. At 117, we have Prehistories from 20th Century Games. Prehistories is a light, accessible polyomino game. Fun, simple, but also I have fun, simple polyomino games already. For me, the go-to has always been Baron Park. It stays Baron Park and Patchwork. If you want to go to a polyomino game, Baron Park and Patchwork will have you covered. 116 is Wolfenstein the board game. It's okay. I like Wolfenstein the board game. It did some things that were pretty decent, but also it didn't do enough that was pretty decent. It was an okay game that I enjoyed playing and then moved on from. Then at 115 we have Minecraft Buildings and Biomes. Minecraft Buildings and Biomes, I actually really enjoyed this one. Played this one with my kid, so factor that into my enjoyment. It's always interesting, because this entire list, probably should have said at the beginning, the entire list is ranked based on my preference of how much I want to play that game. And that does mean that it's not purely about rating. Sometimes it's just about the fact that I may have played this game 30 times, and I may have played this game 4 times, and I want to play this game more right now. So that's part of the bias. But I'd rather play Minecraft Buildings and Biomes than any of the prior, 34 games we covered so far. I thought it was a fun game. It was a cute little system of 3 rounds of scoring, of how you're going to score and trying to optimize around that. I enjoyed playing with my son. He enjoyed playing it. He currently likes Minecraft quite a bit, and this was a fun little game to dive into. At 114, we have Elric, Rise of the Young Kingdoms. Rise of the Young Kingdoms or Lost Kingdoms? I thought it was Lost Kingdoms. Elric, let's call it Elric. That's going to be an upcoming Kickstarter. I'll have coverage for that one. Overall, I enjoy Elric with the caveat that it is semi-co-op, and I don't love the semi-co-op in the game. I don't love semi-co-op in general, and Elric is not making an exception for me. I like the overall game. I kind of wish it were redone as a full co-op or full competitive, because the current stance, I think I like it better as full co-op. Either way, that's Elric. We'll talk more about it. 113 is Tidal Blaze Banner Festival from Drew City Games. Tidal Blaze Banner Festival is a trick-taking game in which you're trying to, well, win tricks. But that's part of the problem for it, which is I like trick-taking games where you don't always want to win, where there's a degree of loss in there. But I think Tidal Blaze took it a little too far in the sense that everything you do has a perk, and it almost feels ambiently better which one's better at any given point. There are times where there's a clear better one, but sometimes being middle is good, being end is good, and being winning is good. So there's just too much, a little bit too much going on there. I enjoyed my time with it, but it wasn't tight enough as far as trick-taking goes that I didn't feel the punishment of it. It was fun, it was enjoyable, and I moved on from it. At 112, we have Dice Theme Park. Another game that's fun, enjoyable, I moved on from. Dice Theme Park had a very, very fun little cascading system that makes you feel very clever as you try to figure out how these dice, these guests in your park, are going to cascade around the park and, well, get as many points as possible. The problem is the rest of the game around it was fairly blah. The rest of the game was only okay, and the thing that I liked was the central mechanic, but then you just kind of repeat that central mechanic across 5 rounds of play and call it a day. It's not bad, it wasn't what I was hoping it would be. Then at 111 we have Euthia. Euthia is a tough one. Euthia is one of those games that I really like Bardsong, that will show up somewhere on this list I'm sure, but Euthia is a game that I really, really like parts of it and then feel a bit more of a grind the rest of the time, and so it's one of those weird things where it's like, do I want to sit down and play Euthia for 4 hours? Kinda yes, but also kind of no, and so that puts us at 111 on this list. I like Euthia, and Euthia's coming back to Kickstarter in case you're interested. July 26th, if I'm not mistaken, which I believe this video goes up before then. We'll find out. But Euthia, solid game, lots of things to recommend about it. It's a game that I can easily recommend, but with caveats. I'd recommend it with the caveats that, well, watch our full review over on Board Game Co. Euthia review and all that stuff. 110. 110 is going to be Forsaken, an upcoming Kickstarter game that is coming to you from Game Trace, basically. They're bringing Forsaken to your table. Forsaken is going to be a kind of Western Legends adjacent game, like, a sandbox game in space cowboys and whatnot, as you have these backstories and characters and all these different pathways. It kind of takes Western Legends to the next level. Definitely enjoyed it more than Western Legends, but it still had some of the problems I've personally had with Western Legends, which is where I don't care about your turn. I only care about my turn satisfying, your turn's getting in the way of my turn, and we're not interacting enough for me to to care what you're doing in your turn. So I kind of want to dive back into Forsaken solo to see if that fixes the problem for me. What I will say is if you like Western Legends, check out Forsaken. I think it's Western Legends but better. If you don't like Western Legends, then Forsaken may not be for you for the same reasons Western Legends may or may not have been for you. We're only on page 1 here. We got 3 pages to go. I mean, really, you could just count. We're currently on 110, and we're going all the way down to 1. 109 is DC Comics deck building game. DC Comics deck building game is one that I got it because they had an active Kickstarter. I wanted to see if I would enjoy it, so I grabbed a copy, played with my son. We enjoyed it, and we have it. We still have it, but it's not one that, I mean, it might stay around, depends on if he asks to play it. I enjoyed playing DC Comics deck building game. I do not love it. I'd rather play other deck building games, so for me, it's one that I have for his sake. At 108, we have Zombicide Gear Up. Zombicide Gear Up is a decent one that I liked it, but also didn't love it. It's a cooperative roll and write, and I haven't found a cooperative roll and write that I love yet. Usually I find they're a little just not tense enough once you get to cooperative roll and writes. There's no competition with other players, and the games themselves are not mechanically interesting enough to survive what's going on there. So I liked it. I enjoyed it. Also didn't keep it. At 107, we have Hero Realms. Hero Realms, short version here is I prefer Star Realms. At 106, we have Magnet the First City. Magnet the First City is a solid game that it gives you a lot of strategic aspects to go off of, and then kind of ruins it all in the late game when it all comes down to a single luck of the draw. That's really what it is. You're just waiting for the market to bust, and when the market busts, determines a whole lot of things. So I enjoyed Magnet the First City, but also I just enjoyed it. No, that's not true. No, it's not because of that. I really enjoyed Magnet the First City, but the fact that it's a highly strategic game ruined by a single moment of luck kind of took the wind out of the sails for me. At 105, we have Isle of Trains. It's another Kickstarter game, probably active Kickstarter when you watch this. Isle of Trains from Bretwalda Games. A fun little solo. Well, that's not true. It's solo and what's it called? Multiplayer. It's a fun little. Optimization engine of trying to figure out how to most efficiently build and load your train such that you can deliver things as efficiently as possible in a variety of ways. It is a fun little puzzle, that is, it's tight, it's rewarding, it's engaging. I really had a lot of fun with it. At the same time, I don't know if I am in love with it. It was good, but not necessarily great. It was good. It was good. It was a good game. At 104, we have Veiled Fate. Veiled Fate. We can put this on the other side now. We're down to 2 pages left. Well, 2 pages and then like a tiny drop at the end. We have like those tiny amounts at the end. Veiled Fate from IV Games. Veiled Fate was fun. I like Veiled Fate. I don't love Veiled Fate. I managed to play a game of 6-player game. We had 3 teams of 2. That was really, really fun. But overall, Veiled Fate, I find, is a good game, but not one that I'm overly in love with. I enjoy my time with it, but strategic deduction is the idea that you kind of want to do so the players are, but it's also not essential. It's not how you win the game. It's just, if I know you're this, then it can help me win. I find in those games when I've played them, and Veiled Fate is not an exception to this, with the exception of team mode, but in general, Veiled Fate, I find it falls prey to the idea that actually hiding yourself usually hurts you more than just being blatantly obvious. And so I just find that being blatantly obvious is the way to go, and you do better than that, which kind of kills the whole point of strategic deduction if you can just be blatantly obvious and still win. So yeah, I liked Veiled Fate, did not love Veiled Fate, although I loved the team game. The team game I really did love. That gameplay is over on Quacks channel if you want to watch that. 103 is Undaunted North Africa. Continuing the Undaunted series. I like Undaunted. I really do, but I don't know if I love it. I think I'd rather play other deck building games. I think Undaunted is a solid deck building framework. Same framework as War Chest. Same framework as Dire Alliance, the horror game from Blacklist Games, if that ever shows up. But I like Undaunted. I do not love Undaunted. I'll be diving into it a bit more. I have like the reinforcements pack. I enjoy my time with it, but it's not one that I am in love with, which I said already. 102 is Power Rangers Heroes of the Grid. I really liked parts of this game. I really liked the combat of Power Rangers Heroes of the Grid, and there was a lot going on here that I enjoyed. Also, there's way too much content, and I am a completionist, and also the board felt completely unnecessary, and also the miniatures felt chunky and just way too large and overdoing it, and that's coming from me. And so I like Power Rangers Heroes of the Grid a lot, or I like parts of it a lot, but I did not feel the need to keep that one at the end of the day. Then at number 101, we have Flamecraft. Flamecraft is number 101. Flamecraft? I played Flamecraft? I did play Flamecraft. That's funny. I forgot about that. I mean, it's in here. It's in here because I pulled it from my app, but I forgot to play Flamecraft. Flamecraft is from Carbon Alchemy, and my son pulled out Flamecraft to play it with me at some point. He found the prototype, which is lying around. We still had it, and he pulled it out to play with me, and so we played Flamecraft. I like Flamecraft. It's fun. It's light. It's a little too light for me, but it's not bad. It's an enjoyable experience that as long as you understand you're walking in that you're playing a very light but very charming game, then great. That's Flamecraft. At 100, we have Welcome to. Welcome to, which is, I didn't actually include Welcome to here. I include Welcome to the Moon, which we're going to see again later on this list, because Welcome to the Moon is much better than Welcome to. But Welcome to is probably the first game on this list that I fully, truly own and embrace. At number 100, I own Tacocat for Ricky. I own Bandida because it's a fun, accessible game, but it's not a game I'm recommending. It's just fun. It's fun. Like, nothing wrong with fun. Fun's good. But at Welcome to, at 100, is the first game that I really, truly own, ignoring prototypes that I don't have yet. Like Flamecraft, I will have a copy coming, but, you know, it's a prototype, so I don't really count that yet. And any others here? There might be others that are prototypes, but either way, Welcome to. Really like that one. Solid roll in my game. Liked it since I first played it, and have continued to play it, and enjoy it, and enjoy it, and enjoy it. It's a solid, solid game. I like Welcome to. At 99, we have Night of the Ninja. Night of the Ninja is a, from Brotherwise Games, it is a hidden roll game that's a little bit more party than figuring things out, but I do like it. I have a lot of fun with it. It's a game that is a lot of fun to just sit down and table and play with a group of 6+ people, which is also where the problem is for me. Once I have 6+ people playing a social deduction game, it doesn't happen that often, and at that point I'd rather play Quest or Resistance or One Night Ultimate Werewolf. There are other games that take the place for me for that game. I think Night of the Ninja, despite being a hidden roll, feels more like Coup. It feels more like Coup in the almost party nature of what you're doing, and I enjoy it. I think it's a good game. I recommend it. 98 is It's a Wonderful World from Lucky Duck Games. It's a Wonderful World is a solid game that I dove back into with the expansion, and it's really fun, but also I just prefer Seven Wonders, which I've said before in another video, and the Corruption and Ascension expansion definitely makes It's a Wonderful World a better game in my opinion. I think it's an easy no-brainer to always include that, but I still prefer Seven Wonders. At number 97, we have Bardsung. Bardsung, which is surprisingly high on this list, but also I liked Bardsung. I did. I had a lot. I mean, I played it for 15 hours. It couldn't have been that bad. But Bardsung was a lot of fun, lots of character development, and just at a certain point, I got to the point where I was like, you know what? I just don't need to grind through this to continue getting that next upgrade, which is something that's happened to me with a few games. It's happened to me with Bardsung. It happened to me with Sleeping Gods, well, not nearly as bad. It happened to me with Either Fields, but again, not as bad. Sometimes I get to a point in a game where I kind of just want to like just cheat and go to the next thing to get the next stuff and just ignore aspects of the game that feel irritating in the way. And usually when that happens, it's not that much longer until I get to the point where I'm done with the game. And so I actually didn't cheat with Bardsung. I never like skipped stuff just to level up, but I got to a point where I wanted to, and then I was like, you know what? I don't care enough to continue that. I like the story, I like the progression, I like the leveling up, I like the powers and abilities, I like all that stuff, but then I had to play too much game in between each session to get to that stuff. At 96, we have Genotype. 96, Genotype is a worker placement, kind of dice placement game. Very clever, very different. It's from Genius Games. They do put out a lot of educational games, and Genotype is no exception. Solid game, decent recommendation. I didn't fall in love with it, but I really did like it. At 95, we have Super Motherload from Roxley Games. Super Motherload is a polyomino, sort of. It's really not polyomino. They're polyomino pieces, but barely. It's a mining game where you're using explosions and drills to basically just drop polyomino pieces on the board as you slowly go further down and mine things. It's all about getting the right gems, the right crystals, and unlocking your pilots at the right time. It's a deck building mining game. I think it's fun, but it's also not that variable. It's an experience that I'm happy to have played, and I don't need to continue playing it. This, by the way, is significantly slower than the last time I did one of these. I don't know why. I guess I'm just taking longer with each thing. At number 94, we have Tiny Towns. Tiny Towns from AEG. I still like Tiny Towns, but I don't know if it's a game that I feel I love. I don't know if Tiny Towns sticks in my collection long term. I think it's probably going to go away again. Like, I left my collection once before, and then I got it back with the expansions, and I like the expansions, and it stuck around for longer. But I think that when it's time to play a game like Tiny Towns, there are other games I find myself gravitating towards, and it may leave. It may leave. I don't know. We'll see. Like Between Two Castles had the same problem, where I liked Between Two Castles Mad King Ludwig, and then it just turned out to be that I liked it because it accommodated a good player count, but it wasn't my go-to pick. So we'll see what happens with Tiny Towns, but it may go. We'll see. 93 is Tainted Grail Conquest. This is the first of, well, I think 2 controversial picks there where I'm including a video game. In general, if I play a video game that feels like a board game, like Tainted Grail, like Slay the Spire, like one other that we'll get to later, I count it as a logged play. And Tainted Grail Conquest is basically Slay the Spire, which is a video game that feels like a card game, feels like a board game. So I'm fine counting that. You may not. That's okay. But I like Tainted Grail Conquest. I thought it was fun. I'd rather play the Slay the Spire, though, so I don't know if I'm going to be diving into it actively unless I get bored to Slay the Spire. So we'll see what happens there. 92 is the Guild of Merchant Explorers from AEG. A fun, it's a flip and write game that doesn't actually have any writing, so it's a flip and place game, but it basically feels like a flip and write game, and it is enjoyable, but my biggest problem with it is I felt that I was tearing things down as much as building them up, and then the rest of the game, the core game, 80% of the plays were not that interesting. And then you had your special power cards, which are super interesting. So the special power cards were like made the game for me, and made the game the only reason I would consider keeping it. But at the end of the day, it's one that I decided not to hold on to and move on from. 91 is Bites. Bites from Board Game Tables. Still enjoy this one. Bites is fast-paced, it's accessible, it's family-friendly, it gives you a fun little stock-taking game for like a bunch of kids, which works, and then it gives you tons of variety through the various gold cards you use in the game, the rule modification cards. I think it's a solid game. It's on the lighter side. It's a family game. It's not one that I have except to play with family, but I do enjoy it. At 90, we have Juicy Fruits, another family-like game. Juicy Fruits is one, and Bites, by the way. Bites I actually own. Anything else I own here? Welcome to, I own Tiny Towns I own, then Bites is the next one. So we're starting to get into the category of games I own already, although still ones I'm not necessarily as excited about. I think right about when we get to 52 is where we start getting into the ones I'm excited about. Why 52? You'll see soon enough. At 91 we had Bites, which I like. At 90 we had Juicy Fruits from Capstone Games. Juicy Fruits had a fun little puzzle. I think it's a really solid gateway game. I just don't know if I need another gateway game, so I moved on from it. I got rid of it, but I really do recommend it. I thought Juicy Fruits was really well done, and it gave you a solid little, not that variable, but a solid little puzzle of just gathering stuff. And it's fun. Every move you take is getting stuff, so it gives you a little feedback cycle of, ooh, more stuff, more stuff, more stuff, and it's very, very rewarding. At 89 we have Agricola. Agricola, which I managed to dive into for the sake of doing a Play This Not That with Caverna, which I haven't actually done yet because I want to play Caverna more, but I played Agricola a lot back in the day, dove back into it, I don't know, month and a half ago, somewhere in the past 90 days or so, but I enjoyed Agricola. It's still solid, but I enjoyed Caverna more, which is spoiling the Play This Not That in case you ever watch it, but hey, you're 40 minutes into this video, you deserve to know. At 88 we have the Artemis Project. The Artemis Project from Grand Gamers Guild. I really enjoyed this one. It's a solid dice placement game. I think the expansion leveled it up for me. The base game is fun, the expansion is funner. As far as is it a game that I need, I don't know. I think it's competing a little too heavily with too many games in that lightweight, 90-minute range. Like, I'd rather play Istanbul. Totally different game. Totally different. But I don't see a world in which I'd rather play Artemis Project over Istanbul, and I could probably find 5 or 6 other games. So I really liked it, but we'll see what happens with that one. At 87, we have 10 Penny Parks, which is a game that also is on that middle range. Again, anything in the 50 to 100 range is like that zone where I'm like, I like you, but how much do I like you? Do I need to keep you? That's the zone where I'm always struggling because I like the games. Like, I really do. I like them. I want them, but I like a lot of games, so I have to make choices. But going back to what I was saying a second ago, 87, 10 Penny Parks from Thunderworks Games, really solid, great artwork, great gameplay. Also, it's a polyomino game in a crowded genre for me, and I know I'd rather Baron Park, I think I'd rather the Grand Carnival. I like 10 Penny Parks. I think it has a limited shelf life, but it's still here for now. At 86, you have That Time You Killed Me from Hadrosaurus Games. We also get into this weird zone where sometimes I'm rating games higher that I got rid of, but in the case of That Time You Killed Me, I played That Time You Killed Me like 15 times, so it's fine, I count it. Basically, I kept playing through all the modules and just going through all the stuff, and then eventually I got to the end of it, and I was like, okay, I saw it all, and now I'm good to go. So I experienced it. I experienced a lot of it, and I really like it. I highly recommend That Time You Killed Me. Solid, abstract game, but one I played through enough that I'm fine with. At 85, we have Whirling Witchcraft, an AEG title, which is a very party game, but it's a fun party game. Like, I really enjoyed Whirling Witchcraft. I had a lot of fun with it. It's quick, it's fast, it plays in 20 minutes, it gives you a little puzzle, you just go chick, 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 boom, and that's really what it is. It's boom. The whole point is to explode your opponent's cauldron by overflowing them, and it plays so quickly that it's kind of rewarding to just go through it, and just if you want a 20-minute filler game that'll have people enjoying themselves, not necessarily about balance or about strategic winning, but about fun wall strategies involved, that's Whirling Witchcraft. At 84, we have Scout, a game I only played once, but I want to dive back into it. I was compelled by the puzzle of it. Scout's a game which you're just playing sets of cards, trying to take cards from other players, trying to outclass their cards. So if you play a set, have to match that set better than you are, either in the number or well, I'm not going to heavily go into the rules, but you're trying to play sets of cards to outpace your opponent. But the balance of it is you can never rearrange your hand. So what you choose to play or take from your hand really defines how well you're going to do. It's a cute little puzzle. It's one of those Oint games that was a cute little puzzle of a game. I want to play it again. At 83, we have Endangered from Grand Gamers Guild. Really like this one. Also left my collection, but I really do like it. Endangered is one that has had me mixed on it for a while. I've gone back and forth, but I really enjoy it every time I play, and it has a lot of variableness to the scenarios. One of the reasons I enjoy it so much is every scenario is a different slight adjustment to the puzzle. But it's a cooperative or solo game of trying to keep animals alive and trying to go through a vote of the various diplomats who will eventually vote and decide if you win. A cute little optimization puzzle that is very luck heavy, but also enjoyable. At 82, we have RuneScape Kingdoms from Steamforged Games. I like RuneScape Kingdoms. It's light. It's very, 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 very light, but it's quick enough and it's fast-paced and it's just everything you do. Speaking of the, what's the other game? Juicy Fruits, that just rewards you every turn. That's what happens when you play RuneScape Kingdoms. Every single turn rewards you. You take another skill test, another skill test, another skill test. You keep bumping up your stats, and hopefully you win before horrible bad things happen. You have to like reset or figure it out. I enjoyed RuneScape Kingdoms. Didn't love it, but it's a game that I want to go through with my son. At 81, we have Leviathan Wilds. Leviathan Wilds is fun. Leviathan Wilds is another game that I think I'm going to go through the whole thing and then call it a day and move on from it. It's a kind of campaign progression as you go through these different Leviathans. The whole goal is you have these Leviathans, and these dice in the Leviathans represent crystals. You're trying to use a bit of an action and ability economy in order to take out the dice as you climb up the Leviathan. Lots of movement and adjustment and things you're trying to manage and balance, which is where the puzzle of the game comes in. And once you level up to hard, there's different difficulty levels. Once you level up to hard, it's a tight game. Although everyone's going to have their own level where it's a tight game. For me, that level was at hard. Hard is not the hardest. There's expert after that. I really like Leviathan Wilds. I'm not in love with it, but I really do enjoy it. From there we're up to 80, so almost halfway through the list, which means there's another 40 minutes in this video to go. That was not planned on it. I did not realize how long this was going to take. We may have to do an intermission, depends how things go. Give me 1 second there. I just need to text people. Apologies for that. This is a long video. There was bound to be a cut somewhere. Number 80 is QE. QE from Board Game Tables. I really still like QE quite a bit, but it still falls into the category of a game that I don't think it actually works. I just think it's fun to play. I think it's broken, and I think it only survives by the grace of the players not breaking the illusion. But it still is a fun time every time I dive into it. At 79, we have Kyperium. Kyperium is an upcoming Kickstarter that I had a chance to dive into. Was very intrigued by it. Now keep in mind, the ranking here currently is based on the fact that I have one play and I want to keep diving into it. Don't take this to mean it's higher or lower than anything else. It could go up, it could go down. Very often when I dive into something for the first time, if I liked that first play, then I want to dive into it again. Kyperium is an interesting puzzle in which you're playing cards to help yourself for their one-time effect, but then when you do so, you're giving your opponent a worker placement effect, but if you time it right, you can also clear that worker placement effect, so it's a weird little challenge and puzzle of how and when to execute on cards. At 78, we have Viral, a fascinating, well-done game from Arcane Wonders where I hate the theme, do not like the artwork and style, despite being the Mitchell, who I usually do love in all his games. I just don't feel it fits with the Viral, but the game is cutthroat and tense. I don't know if it lasts forever. I think ultimately my being put off by the theme means I'd probably keep Cydia Spies instead of Viral, but we'll see. We'll see in that one. We'll see what happens there. 77 is First in Flight. First in Flight, which is an upcoming, or well, I guess a past Kickstarter at this point, upcoming game. First in Flight is push your luck and deck building and a little bit of action selection, interesting mechanisms that all combine together nicely to give a very solid, very enjoyable game. Now, it does have the downside that I worry about its long-term replayability. I worry how it'll hold up after 10, 15, 20 plays, but honestly, 10, 15, 20 plays is a lot, so for right now, it's still high enough. At 76, we have Empire's End from John D. Clear. Empire's End, which is an upcoming game. Empire's End is one that I had a chance to play it at Origins, and I enjoyed it. Again, with the caveat that I played it once and now I want to play it more, but I also do wonder about the long-term longevity, but it's an interesting puzzle of you're constantly bidding on disasters that come up, and more specifically, you're bidding on not taking these disasters. So the entire game is basically trying to hurt yourself as little as possible while you try to build and improve your positioning at the same time. An interesting puzzle. I was very intrigued by it and want to dive into it more. At 75, we have Ultra. We're halfway through the list now. 75 is Ultra. Ultra from Machete Games, a game that has not yet left my collection because I keep wanting to finish that last scenario. I think I have one scenario left to go. Once I finish that last scenario, it may leave. The alternative is I keep it holding on for the expansion. I enjoy Ultra. It's a lighter cooperative game which bad thing happens, good things happen, bad things happen, good things happen, but I like Ultra a decent amount, all things considered. I just don't know if I'm going to replay the same scenarios again. So once I play that last one, I think it goes. But for right now, I still really enjoy it. At 74, we have Notre Dame. Notre Dame, which is a game that's actually leaving my collection, but Notre Dame is really, really good. It's a Stefan Feld game that I really enjoy. I just enjoy other Stefan Feld games more. I find Notre Dame is a little samey play after play, versus other Stefan Feld games give me more reasons to mix up the experience. Bruges, or Castle Burgundy, or Oracle of Delphi, or Bora Bora, or Bonfire. There's more variability in those games. Notre Dame's main strength is that it's shorter, in my opinion, than some of these other Stefan Feld games, but at that point, I'd rather play Istanbul. I think I'd rather play Istanbul over Notre Dame. I like Notre Dame a lot, I do, but it's not sticking around. From there, we have 73, which is Timeline Inventions. Timeline Inventions, which is higher on this list than I would normally place it, but honestly, Timeline Adventures has been in my collection for like 7 years, and I hadn't played it for like the past 3 years. Dove into it this past quarter a few times. I feel like maybe a month ago I dove into it for a few times over the same week, and was a reminder as to why I like it. Timeline is just a game of having cars. You have to place them in the timeline, so you're guessing when was the toothbrush invented, when was the drawing machine invented, when did the bicycle come into play, and what about fire? You're trying to figure out where they go in the timeline, and it's compelling and educational at the same time. At 72 we have Ignite. Ignite, which is a good game that I like other deck builders more. Ignite is a deck building area control game, a deck building skirmish game, I should say, not really area control, deck building skirmish. You're fighting each other, you're building a deck in terms of how you're going to fight, how you're going to attack and interact, and what arrows you're going to shoot, and what spells you're going to cast, and Ignite is very, very, very fun. It also has some elements to it that make it not as good as I would like, and from a pure deck building perspective, I'm still going to choose Dominion over Ignite every time. So I like Ignite, and if there was like a tweak to Ignite, if there's a second edition, I think it'd stick around for a very long time. As it stands, it's just on the cusp of, I like it a lot, but I like other deck builders more. At 71, we have Viticulture World. Viticulture World, which is excellent, but also it's not Viticulture. I like Viticulture over Viticulture World in general, but I like Viticulture a lot, so that's not a fair bar. That's why Viticulture World, despite not being Viticulture, is still 71 on this list, because I enjoyed Viticulture World. I enjoyed playing Viticulture World, which is Viticulture but cooperative, probably should have said that. They revised the experience to be cooperative, to have certain goals, and I really did enjoy my time with it, and I'll happily play it. But I'll suggest Viticulture first and only play Viticulture World if or when you reject it. At number 70, we have Tyrants of the Underdark, another deck builder game. This one is deck building area control. So we have Ignite deck building skirmish, and we have Tyrants of the Underdark deck building area control. I enjoy Tyrants of the Underdark, but like Ignite, there are some soft edges to it that make it a game that I really like, but other deck builders are going to be prioritized over it. Tyrants of the Underdark is fantastic. There's a lot of things well, but yeah, right now I'm going to pick other deck builders over it. At 69, we have Azul. Azul, which is so good, but specifically at 2 players. I like Azul at 2. I don't play Azul at 3 and 4 anymore. I just don't. I know that when I have played in the past, I have always found it to be a letdown. I like the tense puzzle of not just going for the things you want as you grab these tiles to fill your board to score as much as possible, but also the understanding that in a 2-player game, you're always forcing the other player into bad situations. So it becomes a game of screwage, a game of delightful screwage as you focus on not just what you want, but what they don't want and what will hurt them. It gets very tense, very cutthroat, but only at 2 players. At 3 and 4, it just becomes a lighter game that is not why I personally like Azul. At 68, we have Jurassic World, which I need to finish. I still haven't finished it yet. I played the first like 7 or 8 missions and then need the last 4 done. Jurassic World is a lot of fun. It is a legacy game in which you're trying to build out your park slowly but surely, adding more things and going through different phases. I really like Jurassic World. It's expensive. That's my biggest critique about it. But the actual experience is a very solid, iterative experience that goes through things as you go. And I enjoy it. I just need to finish it. But I do want to, which is why it's here. In fact, if I'm not mistaken, Jurassic World may have been on this list the last time I did it. It kind of crossed over those quarters. I had just played it the first time. I think I had gotten 1 play under my belt when I first did this quarter review 3 months ago. And then I got a whole bunch of others, which is why it's still in this list. And then we have 67 at Quacks of Kwedlenberg, a push-your-luck game that still manages to hold up. I still enjoy Quacks of Kwedlenberg. I still play Quacks of Kwedlenberg. I still enjoy Quacks of Kwedlenberg. It is one that is very variable, which is one of the reasons I keep coming back to it. It has lighter gameplay. Like compared to First in Flight, I think I like the pure gameplay. If I was picking a single game, if I was only going to play it once and once only, I think I prefer First in Flight. But if I'm going to be picking an engine, I'm going to pick Quacks because First in Flight is the same game most of the time. Quacks is totally different every single time you mix up the various ingredients you're using in this game, in this push-your-luck engine of pulling ingredients from a bag, ingredients that have a different meaning every time you play, different abilities, different ways to build it out. I really enjoy Quacks. It's continuously growing me, especially the more variable the game gets. At 66, we have Patchwork, another one of those polyomino games that really holds up. Patchwork is a 2-player polyomino game, one of the games that popularized polyominoes in the board game space. It wasn't the first one that did it, but it is one of the ones that popularized the mechanics so that you start seeing it everywhere. From Uwe Rosenberg, solid game, continues to hold up. It is continuously fun to try to build and craft the best possible quilt you can. At 65, we have Luna Rush, another prototype. Luna Rush is a solid game of trying to balance the economy of speed and how much stuff you can get as you move things towards the moon, so you can build stuff in your base, so you can have this worker placement engine going on as you have your astronauts, as you build more and more locations, as you use those astronauts and locations to generate resources that go back down to Earth so you can sell them at the market. It's a fascinating little puzzle with enough little peripheral oddities and mixes thrown in that really give you a solidly puzzly experience going on there. And then we have 64 is Voyages. Voyages is going to be a worker. Voyages is a print-and-play roll-and-write game, which you're trying to move around the voyage. You should have this island grid. You're moving around, trying to collect various things and fill in different grids and go to different regions of the board. All of them, the different maps give you different small adjustments to how the game plays, but the core puzzle of Voyages is just roll 2 dice, choose 1 to roll 3 dice, choose 1 to move, 1 to point the direction, and 1 is the extra one that goes into your side grid, and utilize those as efficiently as possible in this roll-and-write engine. At 63, we have Calico. Remember what I said about how you should only start counting from 52 onwards? Honestly, you start counting from 63 onwards. I think anything above Calico I can kind of start to live without. Calico is... either I have to move Calico down the list or something, but Calico is delightful. I love Calico. Solid game of trying to maximize your scoring puzzle as you grab cat tiles, as you... well, not actually cats. As you grab patchwork tiles and put them into your quilt, and then depending on the arrangements of patterns and or colors, you'll get buttons or cats that will modify your scoring in addition to the basic scoring you're trying to puzzle out. Calico is always fun. It's beautiful. I really enjoy Calico quite a bit. It should either be moving up this list, or you should be paying attention to the top 63 games on this list. Anything above 63, honestly, I like them, but I can kind of live without them. Once you get to Calico, I'm kind of moving more and more towards not wanting to not have these games. At 62, we have Sniper Elite, the board game, which ironically enough, I don't have that game. Part of that is because of the fact that when I do these lists, I'm treating each thing as an entity unto itself, but not in the bigger picture. So Sniper Elite, the board game, is a hidden movement game that I really like. It's a lot of fun. I really, really enjoy that one. But, and this is a big but, I prefer mind management and I prefer Beast. So how many hidden movement games do I need in my collection before I start to wonder about the overlap and which do I care about or not care about? So I like Sniper Elite. I do. I like it a lot, but I'm always going to pick mind management over it, and I'm always going to pick Beast over it, at least as of right now. And so as much as I like Sniper Elite, I just don't play hidden movement enough to have 3 full hidden movement games in my collection. At 61, we have Skyrise from Roxley Games. That's an upcoming Kickstarter. I think Skyrise should probably be lower on this list. I like Skyrise a lot, don't get me wrong. Part of the answer here still might be the freshness and the newness of it, but I think it will move up, which is to say down this list, depending. It'll be worse way down this list, what I'm saying. I like Skyrise. I think it's a solid bidding game, which you're bidding not on the location you're bidding on, but you outbid somebody else to take the next location, and then gathering different tiles. A very fascinating puzzle of scoring and bidding that works really, really well, and the way Roxley treated the game has done a solid job of taking Metropolis, which is the original game, and making it a better experience. At the same time, I do think Skyrise has a limited shelf life. I think it has, you know, again, going back to like First in Flight, it's a kind of game that has 10, 15 plays in it before I start to wonder if it's a game that I need to keep. And maybe it is. Maybe it isn't. Time will tell on that one. 60 is going to be Unseen Domains, a Kickstarter that hasn't really launched yet, but a Kickstarter I had a chance to play. I really enjoyed Unseen Domains. It does have the aspect where there's potentially too much screwage, such that you can't really control for enough variables to be meaningful, but I really do enjoy it for right now. It's one that gives you enough stuff going on in the game and enough control, I think, that the game is just pure getting in each other's way and trying to do your own thing, and a little bit of area control, a little bit of taking over territories, a little bit of everything as you try to accomplish quests, gather points. Unseen Domains is one worth paying attention to when it comes out. At 59, we have Circle the Wagons, a button shy game that still continues to hold up. Circle the Wagons has gone down in my estimation. Skulls of Sedlec is currently my favorite button shy game. At one point in time, Circle the Wagons might have been, but Circle the Wagons, I think, over enough plays has gone a little bit down for me. I still really like it, but it might need an expansion for bringing it back up. Versus Skulls of Sedlec, I absolutely adore. We'll talk about Skulls of Sedlec lower down this list, trust me on that. At 58, we have Isle of Skye, another game that I currently have, but I wonder how well it holds up over time. Isle of Skye is one that I have the base game, I have some of the expansions, and I really enjoy it. But it's one of those games that I enjoy it when I play it, but I don't often think of it as the one that I want to pull off the shelf. It's one that I'm happy to play when it gets pulled off the shelf. It's a bidding game which you're trying to build out a little Carcassonne style board, but it's your own little Carcassonne board. It's not a joint board, it's your own board. And you're bidding on tiles. You're setting the price of tiles and bidding on those tiles, which leads to a fun little situation where you're always constantly trying to juggle the value of the economy of the game, and you often make the wrong call and then lose the game accordingly. I like Isle of Skye. It's got lots of variability to the scoring, lots of fun. I like it. I should probably play it more. At 57, we have Majesty of Dragons. Majesty of Dragons is going to be another upcoming Kickstarter in which it's a 2-player game of trying to collect 5 dragons, or more specifically trying to win. And how you win varies depending on the variable scoring conditions. There's getting certain types of dragons, there's getting certain value of dragons, there's getting certain dragon tokens as you attack your opponent. A bunch of ways you can actually win over here, but it's juggling all those win conditions that makes Majesty of Dragons fascinating as you try to figure out how to stop your opponent from winning in multiple ways, and which way you're trying to pursue that he can't stop you in. Majesty of Dragons is pretty solid, really enjoy it. At 56, we have Great Plains, another two-player game of area control. Great Plains has really grown on me more and more. I continuously enjoy Great Plains. I think it's a solid little game of simplicity and elegance that manifests in a 10 to 20 minute area control fight back and forth as you figure out who can tactically take over your opponent. It's abstract in concept, but area control in practice, and it's a really great game that I enjoy. At 55, we have Tiny Epic Vikings, the one Tiny Epic game that has really captured my imagination, and it does so because it has drafting. Well, I mean, you need more than just drafting, but drafting really does help in this game as you try to draft cards that you then chain off each other because you're going to get these symbols in play. Every card you play adds a symbol to the table, which makes the next card easier to play or execute on, which leads to a fun little puzzle of area control, of drafting cards, of gathering various bonuses, of winning battles, losing battles, all these things in order to ultimately be as efficient as possible across 3 rounds of play. I like Tiny Epic Vikings a lot. I'm looking forward to the final game. It's the one Tiny Epic game that has really captured my imagination. At 54, we have Anastyr. Anastyr from Mythic Games, which is one that I wonder how this will hold up. This is one of those games where I like it, but also like the amount of content there is, will I like it quite as much when there's 14 large boxes and a little bit intimidating in the gameplay? I don't know. Time will tell on that one. We'll see. But Anastyr is a side-scrolling beat-em-up game that has a very zombicide feel in terms of being a lighter beat-em-up style game that has enough decisions to be interesting, but not so much to be, sword and sorcery. I like Anastyr. I'll see how it holds up over time. At 53, we have After the Empire. After the Empire from Grey Fox Games. This is a kind of tower defense game, but not really. It's a game which you're building out your castle, trying to repel the hordes, and all the players are trying to repel the hordes, which means you're trying to build the most efficient repelling of hordes things that you can do in the game. I really like it. It continues to hold up for me every time I play it. It is a little bit to table, which makes it one that I don't table as often as I would otherwise like, but when I do, I do enjoy my time with it. At 52, we have Santorini. Santorini was my original bar as far as when I said pay attention to 52 or below, that's because of Santorini. But honestly, because After the Empire, Anastyr, Time of Vikings, Great Plains, what's the other ones that we missed over here? Majesty of Dragons, Isle of Sky, Circle of Wagons, Unseen Domains, Skyrise, Sniper Elite. As much as I like them, I can kind of have them all pulled up from underneath me, and I don't think I'd lose that much sleep. Santorini I'd be sad about, as well as Calico. So Calico, and again, this goes back to the rating thing. I'm rating them based on desire to play, not necessarily desire or pure ranking or anything else. At 52, we have Santorini, a solid game from Roxy Games, another Roxy Games game that has held up. I backed that way back in the day, and it's been in my collection ever since. It has not left. I love the abstract puzzle that is Santorini, and the slight variability that every additional role, character, god, hero adds to the game to change and mix up the puzzle. Great game. At 51, we have Arc Nova. Arc Nova from Capstone Games, which is one that is still higher on this list because I want to dive into it more, but I think it does go lower for me. Now, don't get me wrong, this game is killing it on BGG, continuously moving up to the ranks. For me, Arc Nova is really, really good, and I still prefer Terraforming Mars, but I think at this point, that's the minority opinion, so I mean, I said I'm happy for everyone who found Arc Nova. At 50, we have Now or Never. Now or Never from Red Raven Games. This one I only played once, and I really want to dive into it again. It was a solid, it's almost like a worker placement adventure game. It's really interesting in the execution of it. There's a story mode and a non-story mode, but you're building out your own little building grids, and you're building out you're trying to grow. It's only 6 rounds of play, but you get so much done in those 6 rounds of play. It is really, really satisfying. This is a game that I played once and then was like, okay, great, I'm happy I played it, don't need to play it again. And then it continued to stay in my mind for the next several days after. I like Now or Never, really solid game. At 49, we have Age of Civilization, a small box game that really works well. I'm really continuously impressed by Age of Civilization. It does so much in such a small package, in a short playtime. It plays well solo, plays well multiplayer. I really like Age of Civilization, and now I'm looking forward to Age of Galaxy, I think is the next one. But that's what I'm looking forward to next. At 48, we have Resident Evil 3, which I've continuously been going through right now. I'm playing through Resident Evil 3. I'm slowly knocking them all out, and I'm still enjoying the puzzle. It's a little bit of a one-trick pony, meaning the game does not evolve significantly over the plays. You unlock some new weapons, which get more satisfying every single time, but also take a little bit of the tension away, so they need to level up the enemies at the same time. I really enjoy Resident Evil 3, but I'm looking forward to more Resident Evil 1. Then we have, and yes, they're out of order, in terms of it goes Resident Evil 2, then 3, then 1. Then we have at 47, Almanac the Dragon Road, which I really enjoy. Almanac the Dragon Road is a worker placement flip book game, where every single time you flip a page, you go to the next arc of the story, so you're choosing the direction you go. So you have 18 different pages of worker placement, but you won't engage with more than 6 of those per game, which means it has a lot of gameplay variability. I really like Almanac the Dragon Road. It is lighter, to be clear, but it plays really well, and it's very satisfying. Every time I play it, I'm like, what about this? I'm missing out on that, and I have that sense of wanting to play it again, which always helps. At 46, we have Planet Unknown, which is a recent addition to the collection, but one that I'm still solidly enjoying. The variability of all the corporations in this polyomino puzzler, as you choose the planet, which you're going to be placing your polyomino pieces down, and then you choose your corporation, which gives you your unique abilities, and then you just spin the rondelle, grabbing polyomino tiles all simultaneously, which keeps the gameplay pace very quickly no matter what player count you're playing at. I really enjoy Planet Unknown. It's a lot of fun, very satisfying. Had some component issues, but overall, really enjoy the game. At 45, we have Ankh, Gods of Egypt. Ankh, Gods of Egypt 45 is going to be a great game from Command that really still holds up for us. I still like Blood Rage more. Ankh is not overthrowing that, not yet, but Ankh is very, very good. I need to add the first expansion to see how it mixes up, but past that, I like the game, I like the merging, I like the action selection. It is still one that holds up. It's gotten a little mechanical. It's actually gone down a little bit for me since I played it, but it was very high, so it has room to drop before anything scary happens. Right now, still enjoying Ankh quite a bit. At 44, we have Xayah, Legends of a Drift System. Xayah is a great game. I really enjoy Xayah. I had some complaints and critiques about it, which the expansion supposedly addresses and fixes and makes better, but even as it is, I really enjoy Xayah. It is the best sandbox game I've ever played, and I'm looking forward to diving into the solo expansion as well, the solo campaign, as well as seeing what the expansion adds and mixes up the base game. At 43, we have Stars of Icarus. I just played this one for the first time recently, got in 3 plays, and I'm looking forward to diving into it more. I'm very curious what Stars of Icarus does as far as how it evolves. It seems like it's going for Gloomhaven in space, and it's doing a good job at feeling that at a high level, while being very, very different in ways that I don't think are better. So I think Stars of Icarus is starting off high for me, but I don't know how it continues to evolve as I play 10, 15, 30 missions of it. At 42, we have Cockroach Poker Royal, which still is amazing. I mean, the fact that Cockroach Poker Royal beats so many games over here, because I just have so much fun when I play this simple, easy bluffing game. It is fun, it is rewarding. I just enjoy Cockroach Poker Royal a lot. At 41, we have Radlands, 2-player game from Roxy. We got a few Roxy games on this list. But Radlands is a 2-player game from Roxy Games that I kind of wrote off initially, but the more I play it, the more I enjoy it. It's just simple, it's fast-paced, it's quick, it's rewarding, it rewards skill, it rewards knowing the cards, but also it's not such a high barrier because it's like a small amount of cards. I really like Radlands, it's a good 2-player game. At 40, we have Gollum, which has done very well for me over here. Gollum is one that I played the first time, and I was like, that's good, but it might be a little bit too much, it might feel a little too fiddly, and the more I played it, the more I enjoyed it. Every time I've played Gollum, I've continued to enjoy it more. The puzzle is very, very, very elegant. There's a lot going on. You have to be mindful compared to, let's say, a game like Coimbra, which already has a lot going on. I think Coimbra is more elegant than Gollum, and Gollum's a little more fiddly. But I think Gollum is fantastic and continues to hold up for me. At 39, we have Ghosts of Christmas. Ghosts of Christmas is another trick-taking game that works really well. This is going to be from Board Game Tables. Again, another company that's had like 4 or 5 games on this list. But Ghosts of Christmas is a lot of fun. I love the trick-taking. It's very clever. It's very clever. It's just, Ghosts of Christmas might be my favorite trick-taking game over. It may have eclipsed The Crew for me. I'm not sure if I'm willing to say that yet. I'm not sure. No, The Crew's still better. Ghosts of Christmas is darn close, though. Then at 38, we have Moonrakers. Moonrakers, which has definitely grown for me. Moonrakers, I've started playing with the expansions, and the expansion content definitely moves Moonrakers up as far as how I hold it. I like Moonrakers a lot. My biggest complaint was that this deck-building, negotiation game in space, my biggest complaint was that it didn't always play consistently because players were either selfish or not selfish. The expansions definitely help that, while adding more fun things to the game. Moonrakers is doing very well for me. 37 is Lorenzo Magnifico. Another one of those another one of those heavy Euro games. I still like Lorenzo more than Gollum, but marginally, a few places above, as you can see, and I'll stand by that, this arbitrary ranking. I'll stand by that I prefer to play Lorenzo than Gollum. Lorenzo has more cards that make the puzzle more interesting. Gollum has a lot, but I like the cards in Lorenzo. It's very, very fun. But both of them are incredibly fun. Lorenzo specifically with the expansion, though. I found the expansion really bumped Lorenzo up for me and helped a lot. At 36, we have The Great Wall. The Great Wall from American Realms. I love this game. It is a hard game to table. It's a hard game to teach, but The Great Wall is so satisfying. The advisors and generals combos combined with the basic gameplay. There are elements of The Great Wall that I find fiddly. There are elements I don't love, but the overall game I adore. The overall game is so much fun. I love playing The Great Wall. It is always a knockout hit when we do so. I do primarily play with the Black Powder expansion, just in case people are wondering. I've played without the Black Powder expansion, but not for a while. My first few plays were without, and every subsequent play has been with. It's the only way I'll play it right now. Then we have 35 is Valeria Card Kingdoms. Valeria Card Kingdoms, which I started diving into the cooperative gameplay of it. I really enjoy Valeria. I've enjoyed it since I first played it, and the expansions have continued to add and increase to the game, including the most recent Darksworn, which gives you solo or co-op play to the game. I really enjoy Valeria. It's simple, it's a guilty pleasure, but it's a lot of fun when we play it. At 34, we have Paleo, which is still really, really good. Paleo, it gives you a caveman-style cooperative gameplay in which you're trying to survive together while semi-communicating and semi-having knowledge and helping and all that. I find Paleo is it's always enjoyable. It's very different in what it does, but it's always enjoyable when we play it. At 33, we have the Quest of El Dorado. Quest of El Dorado is one that, do I have it on the table? I do not. The Quest of El Dorado is one that's one of those deck builders that I'll always choose over other games. I think we may even have Dominion higher on this list. We have Dominion higher. Quest of El Dorado and Dominion are two of the deck builders that I will constantly choose over other deck builders. Quest of El Dorado is giving you a bit of a racing engine with a deck builder. Lots of fun. From there we have 32 is Last Light. Last Light from Roy Canada. Oh my gosh, Last Light is delightful. Plays quickly, very rewarding, lots of fun. Last Light really gives you a 4x experience in a short time frame, like under an hour for the game. Played a 2-player game that was also rewarding. Probably would not be my go-to mode, but I did enjoy the 2-player and would play it. The biggest critique I have of the game at this point is that the setup and tear down are going to be a lot of the gameplay experience. Like, you might spend 20 minutes setting up and tearing down the game and only playing it for an hour, which I've had worse ratios, but that one's not great. The good news is you can knock out 2 or 3 games back to back and increase that ratio and improve it for you. At 31, we have TAC, which is one of my favorite abstract games, if not my favorite abstract game. It might not be my favorite, but it's one of my favorite abstract games, definitely up there. We have Mythic Mischief low on this list, but that's still new. I love TAC. TAC is adorable. It's excellent. Not adorable. It's excellent. It's incredible. TAC is just, it's brutal too. It's brutal when you get in people's faces with TAC. It is a mean game that rewards continued play, and it's just so ridiculously elegant. At 30, we have Burn Cycle. Burn Cycle from Chip Theory Games, which has continued to grow the more I play it. Every time I dive into it, I enjoy the puzzle more. I enjoy the puzzle of the different characters, the captain, the scenario you have. It all provides a different entity of everything it meshes together in a way that just gives you a fun little puzzle. And that's what I like about Chip Theory Games. They're all about the puzzle, all about giving you powers and abilities, and then you have to kind of figure out how to apply everything in such a way that you actually win. And each of their games, Cloudspire, Chip Theory, Cloudspire, Too Many Bones, Burn Cycle, they all give you a different way of approaching that puzzle with the powers and abilities. At 29, we have Foundations of Rome, which is fantastic. From Arcane Wonders, Foundations of Rome is great. I love playing that game. It is the production value definitely elevates it, but it's one of my favorite Polyomino games right now. It's very cutthroat, very strategic, allows you to take proxy things in and out in a way that messes with players. It's very, very fun to play Foundations of Rome. At 28, we have Dominion. Still my oldest and favorite deck builder game that just holds up. I should probably get more. I should probably upgrade to the 2nd edition and re-sleeve everything at this point. I love Dominion. I probably should do that. I probably should re-get everything. That'd be so much work. I don't want to sleeve 5,000 cards. Then we have Cyberpunk 2077 at 27. At 27, we have Cyberpunk 2077. That was not intentional. That's the algorithm sorting itself. But that one is higher because it's new. It's still definitely higher because it's new, but I really like Cyberpunk 2077. It is a area control game that is very rewarding, less so than some of my others. I prefer Kemet, I prefer Image, I prefer Cyclades, all that's true, but Cyberpunk plays in roughly an hour plus. I'd say our gameplays came in anywhere between an hour and 10 minutes to an hour and 30 minutes, somewhere in that range, and so it is incredibly good. The ratio of how good it is compared to the playtime, that is one of the where areas where it's going to stand out for me. I like it a lot. 26 is going to be Watergate. Watergate from Capstone Games, another company that's got like 14 games on this list. We have Watergate is one of the best 2-player head-to-head games I've played. It's a puzzly, tense tug of war that is incredibly rewarding. Then we have 26 is going to be 25 is going to be Root. We're not the last 25 over here. We're making decent time over here. 25 is going to be Root. Root from Leader Games, which is always fun to dive into, always variable, tons of content. We started diving into it with the new Marauder expansion that came out, and it's just fun. It's highly variable, highly engaging, highly strategic. Root is an area control game that continues to deliver. At 24, we have another controversial pick, which is Hearthstone. Like I said earlier, if it's a digital game that feels like a board game, I include it. And in the case of Hearthstone, it feels like a board game, so I include it here. Hearthstone is a game that I've recently started diving back into. I used to play it back in the day, and I've dived back into it recently, and it still holds up. It's basically a collectible card game, but on your PC or app or phone or whatever it is. But I really enjoy it, and they add a lot of modes to the games. They have ways to play it solo, they have ways to competitively. You can play it against friends, you can play it against arena. There's like 15 different ways to play it at this point. I really enjoy it. I kind of hope they do a Hearthstone port at one point, even if it's not like Hearthstone, but they're like, oh, kind of like the way we have Slay the Spire, and they're doing a Slay the Spire the board game at some point. Maybe we'll see. But Hearthstone, I want to see what happens to it. I really like Hearthstone. I'd love to see some sort of physical representation, even if it will probably be a letdown. At 23, we have Dead Reckoning. Dead Reckoning from AEG. That's right, yeah, AEG. Again, another company has lots of games on this list. Dead Reckoning is a lot of fun. I really enjoy it. I've been diving into the sagas. It runs a little long, but I really like it. The sagas don't add as much to the game as I would like them to, at least not where we are so far. but I still like them a lot. I still like the overall game, I'd say. The sagas are nice, and I like the overall game. There's a lot of pathways towards how you can try to approach the game, what you can try to do, what you can specialize in, but I find it runs at a decent pace, a little slow, but I can't say both those, it's one or the other. Mostly a decent pace, but also a little slow, and I think it's a really good game. It's a really good game. I like it a lot, which is kind of something I'm saying a lot with these games, but there's only so much you can say when you have like 30 to 40 seconds per game. At 22, we have Cydia Spies, which is the better version of Viral that I mentioned already. Cydia Spies, from the same company, the same designers. Cydia Spies is one of my favorite games. I adore Cydia Spies. It is tough. It involves reading your opponents. It involves making calls, hoping your call plays out well, and very often your call does not play out well, but on average, some will work for you, some won't, as you try to outbluff and outmaneuver your opponents in this game of trying to place down your spies to mess with others. Honestly, I'm going to get rid of Viral. I think this is when I realized Viral's gone. There's no situation in which I'd rather play Viral over Cydia Spies. There's none. They do similar things, but Cydia Spies is just so much better. Then we have Welcome to the Moon. Welcome to the Moon over here at number 21. Welcome to the Moon is fantastic. It is the significantly better version of Welcome to, my opinion. My wife likes Welcome to more. I like Welcome to the Moon significantly more. It gives you the same experience, but just in 8 different maps, so it's highly variable. And if nothing else you've learned from this list is that I do appreciate variability in my board games. It means every game I look forward to because it feels fresh and I want to dive into something new, and Welcome to the Moon absolutely has that in a roll and write game that is just better than Welcome to, or flip and write game. Then we have 20 is going to be Tainted Grail. I've only played Tainted Grail once. I need to dive into it more. Tainted Grail is a really, really solid game that has a lot of fun things happening. Tainted Grail is from Awakened Realms. It gives you a lot of story, a lot of management of your characters as you try to figure out how to engage in combat, engage in diplomacy, manage your stats, and just generally survive till the next night until you figure out more and more what's happening in the story. I really enjoyed Tainted Grail, at least so far. But again, one game so far. I need to play it more. It's on my list of things that I hope to get to, but may or may not actually happen. At 19, we have Heroes of Land, Air, and Sea, Spies, Lies, and Supplies, or something like that. But basically, Heroes of Land, Air, and Sea is the newer standalone version of Heroes of Land, Air, and Sea, which I love. I adore that game. And it's basically just 18 cards and 2 players going back and forth trying to understand the cards in play and the cards not in play and make judgment calls about how to play their cards based on the best guess of what will work out well, and then bluffing or not bluffing accordingly and withdrawing when relevant. Really solid game, plays very quickly, gives you a lot of strategy. I loved Heroes of Land and Sea, and Heroes of Land and Sea, Spies, Lies, and Disguise, or Supplies, or Disguise, whatever it is, absolutely holds up as a completely viable, completely awesome standalone version of the game that could be mixed together. At 18, we have Caverna the Cave Farmers. Only played it once so far, really want to play with the expansion, really want to dive back into it again, but it just felt like a better Agricola. It gave me all the things I liked about Agricola, with more freedom, with weapons and cave diving. It just gave me more and better. It's just better. It's just straight up better. Again, we'll talk about this more when I do a full playlist of that, once I actually play through more Caverna, but in every way, shape, or form, it's better than Agricola for me. Agricola's good. Caverna's just better. Then at 17, we have Anno 1800, which I still love. I still play Anno 1800 a lot, and I still enjoy it quite a bit. It is one of my better March from Lost games. It's a game that feels like Brass Light to a degree, and it's just all about getting these resource chains in production and in place, and then trading with other opponents and using theirs and them using yours as you try to figure out the most efficient way to drive endgame and get points, which changes a bit every game because of the nature of the cards that come into play, but I really like Anno 1800. At 16, we have Spirit Island, which I still have not played without the expansions. With the expansions, I need to play with the expansions. I love Spirit Island. It's a lot of fun, but it's still, I just play the game and I play it, and then I just play the game again, and I play the game again, and I don't mix the expansions in it. I need to do so. Everyone says the game gets better, and it's already pretty darn good because it's pretty darn good. At 15, we have Dune Imperium, which has still continued to grow with me as I play it more. I recently read the rules for the expansion, which I have, and I'm hoping to dive into the next play with that, which I wonder what it'll do for the game. I wonder if it'll make it better, or, I mean, I can't imagine it won't. Honestly, I've read the rules. I can't imagine it won't make it better. But Dune Imperium is worker placement area. It's worker placement, deck building, with a whole lot of just stuff going on as you manage the houses, you try to get to 10 points. Really, really enjoy it. I still like Lost Ruins Monarch more, but I like Dune Imperium a lot. Then we have 14 is going to be El Grande, the big box. It still holds up ever since I played it. I didn't play it for a long time, but I think maybe 5-6 years ago I finally added it to my collection. And since then, whenever we play it, I'm reminded by just how much I enjoy the game and how much I should play it more. And then sometimes we do, and sometimes we don't. But El Grande is the granddaddy of area control games, and it works really, really well. 13 is Mythic Mischief from IV Games. Mythic Mischief, which I really, really enjoy still. It's just so... I still play it. I still get into it. It is a good game that just rewards tactical strategy and just thinking as quickly as possible. Blitz mode is amazingly fun if you don't like the timer on the game. If you don't like the slowness of the game, Blitz mode will give you the same experience, but just faster. Mythic Mischief is It's a great game. It's a great game. At number 12, we have Endless Winter. Endless Winter, which I need to dive into physical copy, but I haven't had a chance to play this recently, which is why it's on this list. Endless Winter from Fantasia Games is just excellent. It gives you that again, deck building area, deck building worker placement. Same as Austin's Varnak, same as Endless Winter, same as Dune Imperium. And Endless Winter gives you a ton of expansions, but I still want to dive into some of them and see how it all mixes up. But right now, I just want to dive straight into the base game, forget the expansions. I want to get it back on my table and play the final copy of the game. Finally, I've never played a final copy of the actual physical game in the non-prototype stage. I'm looking forward to that. At number 11, we have Air, Land, and Sea, just plain. Heroes of Air, Land, and Sea, or whatever it is, without the whole Spies, License Guys, the base game, original version of it. I don't know why I have it this much higher. I consider the game's equivalent, honestly, in terms of the expansion in this, but whatever it is, I really like it a lot. Everything I said about the other alternate standalone version applies to this one as well. At 10, we have Skulls of Sedlec. These are the final 10 over here. If you want the 10 best games I played out of 149 games the past 3 months, Skulls of Sedlec is going to be number 10. It's really, really good. It's really... I honestly kind of want to do a full dedicated, video just for the top 10, but we're too into it now. I love Skulls of Sedlec, and my voice is slowly going. I need more seltzer or water. Skulls of Sedlec is incredible. I love playing it. I love the variability. I have the full expansion collection, and it's just so simple. It plays in like 15 minutes, if that long, 10 minutes, and it just gives you a lot of depth, a lot of reward. I love this game. I wonder if I'm alone. I never really know, but it's so good. At number 9, we have Gloomhaven, which I've been diving into a lot recently. Gloomhaven is fantastic. It's a game that at one point I was almost ready to get rid of Gloomhaven because I just who's tabling that giant behemoth of a game. But now that I'm finally getting into it, I still have Crimson Scales. I'm going to dive into that at some point. I have Forgotten Circles, which maybe that will happen one step at a time, one step at a time. But for right now, I am enjoying Gloomhaven a lot. Every single time I play it, it's a lot going on. Leveling up your character, going through the missions, it's just a lot of fun. I'm primarily playing it digitally, so take that into account, but I've also played Jaws of the Lion physically a lot. Both of them are phenomenal. At 8, we have Codenames, which is always amazing. Codenames, both duet and regular, I still have fun playing Codenames. Ever since I first got it, it has held up. It continues to hold up. I play this game, one of the most played games in my collection, if not the most played. I have to actually look, but if not the most played. At 7, we have Castle Burgundy, which is still amazing. Castle Burgundy is just, every time I play it, it is a Euro engine from Feld that just works really well. I'm excited about the big box, the deluxe version from GameFound when that shows up in a year and a half from now. But Castle Burgundy is just solid. At 6, we have Paris, a game that has really, really done well for me. Paris is going to be one of my many new finds this year that just blew me away. I love it. Every time I play Paris, it feels cutthroat, it feels mean, and it plays in like 20 minutes, and it gives you a cutthroat, mean, solid experience in 20 to 30 minutes. I love Paris. The expansion is just solid. It mixes in more of the same content, but I really enjoy Paris. At 5, we have Terraforming Mars, which I've played twice this past week alone, or more, twice. No, just twice this past week. But Terraforming Mars is excellent. It has the best tableau building. Again, Ark Nova's beating it for other people, not for me. Terraforming Mars completely holds up as the best tableau building, drafting experience. It's just so much fun. Getting the right cards, building your combos, trying to figure out how to build out your tableau, the corporations, the prelude cards, all the way everything mixes together. I love Terraforming Mars. I recommend it highly with drafting. I recommend it highly with prelude. Everything else is kind of take it or leave it as far as I'm concerned. But that's Terraforming Mars. At 4, we have Cloudspire. This is where I remind you that this is based on my desire to play, and Cloudspire is definitely one of the things that I have recently found and am constantly in the mood for. Constantly in the mood of playing that another Chip Theory Games game in which I move chips around, in which I take powers and abilities, in which I try to puzzle out the player, the AI solo player. I'm primarily playing it solo right now. I love Cloudspire. I do not think it beats Too Many Bones, but I think it has a chance of beating Too Many Bones, which is already plenty considering how much I like Too Many Bones. At 3, we have Crokinole, because it's so much fun. Crokinole is simple. It beats so many games. It's just when you have 4 people sitting down at a table playing Crokinole, flicking your disc back and forth, trying to knock them out. It is zen-like. It is relaxing. It is so... Crokinole boards are worth it. That's what I'm saying. Crokinole boards are worth it. You should get your hands on one. It is a great game. I like it 2 players. For me, Crokinole shines as a 4-player experience with 3 of your best friends sitting down playing a game. At 2, we have Cthulhu Death May Die. I love Cthulhu Death May Die. All these, the top 10 are all absolutely amazing. But Cthulhu Death May Die, I've been diving back into it for the 3rd or 4th time now with Rena, with my wife, with diving into it, going through it, and enjoying the experience of just playing Cthulhu Death May Die. It's so much fun, and it's tense. Every single game comes down to the last minute. Every single game comes down to who do you think's going to win at the very end of it. It's got powers and abilities, it's got insanity, it's pushing itself to the limit, it's got lots of variability for the missions, the characters, the elder ones. I adore playing Cthulhu Death May Die. And then lastly, at number 1, we have Inish. Inish, which has made the list every single time I play Inish. Inish continues to hold up. It is just so good. And every time I play Inish, it is just so good. And half times I play Inish, we sit there and say, wow, it's never played like this before. It works well at 2, it works well at 3, it works well at 4, it works well at 5, it works well at all player counts, not one. Inish is one of the most elegant area control games that I've ever played. They recently announced Galactic Renaissance or something, Galactic something. It's a terrible name. It doesn't stand out in the slightest. But they recently announced a spiritual successor to Inish, which of course I'll get my hands on it because why wouldn't I? But I don't imagine it surpasses Inish. I just don't see how it could. Inish is just so good. And that's the 149 games I played this past month. This video went on significantly longer than I thought it would. I didn't realize how much time I'd be spending on all these things, but no apologies now. It's too late. If you made it this far, it was probably useful. And if you didn't make it this far, that makes sense. This is an hour-and-a-half long video. Why would you make it this far? Until next time, I'm Alex Radcliffe from Board Game Co. I hope you enjoyed this video. And as always, have a good one.